Good day everyone, we are the group 5 and for today's video, our task is to determine which of the following propositional forms are tautologies. So, let's start off with question 1.
The first problem in number 5 is P or Q implies Q or P. Since we only have two logical variables, P and Q, then we will have the first two columns for the two propositions. We have here P and Q. Then for P, we will have the true, false, false values, while the Q has true, false, false. Now that we have the values for P and Q, let's move on to getting the P or Q values. When we talk about this junction of propositions or this symbol here, the or, according to the definition, only false when both statements are false. This means anything that does not have false and both sides are all true. So true and, for example, we have here true and true. True or true, since there are no false here, that means this is true. Here, true and false, true or false. Now, both sides doesn't have false on them. That means this is also true. This doesn't also have false on both sides. That means this is also true. This one have false on both sides. False on P and false on Q. That means P or Q in the fourth row is false. Now, let's get the Q or P. The same with P or Q. This is also a disjunction since we have the or symbol. P or Q of the first row is true. Second is also true. Third is also true. The fourth, which have both false and both sides, are false. Lastly, let's get the P or Q implies Q or P. Now let us move on for the last column, which is getting the truth value of P or Q implies Q or P, or if P or Q, then Q or P. Before answering, let us consider what the rules or the definition of a conditional statement is. Since we are to find the if P or Q, then Q or P. In conditional statement, the only time we will have a false value is when the first statement is true and the last is false. Other than that, are all true. The first value is true and the second value is false. That means it is false. Other than that, it is all true. So let us now get the P or Q. Now let us get the P or Q implies Q or P. Now we have here the values for P or Q and Q or P. So we have the first statement here is, so the first value is true and true. This means this is true. Since none of them, since the second statement is not false, that means this is true. Second, we have true and true. It's also true since there is no false value here. Third one is both true. It means this is also true. Now we have here both false. Now the conditional statement says that if the first statement is true and the second is false, that is false. Otherwise, it is all true. Since both are false, that means this is true. With that, we can conclude that P or Q implies Q or P is a tautology. Now, why is it a tautology? Because according to the definition of tautology, tautology is a propositional form that is always true. And since P or Q implies Q or P are all true, that means this is a tautology.
Good day everyone, I am Queen Kalapi and today I'm going to identify this propositional form if it is tautology by using the truth tables. This is the table na nagpakita kung siya ng propositional form is tautology. So we have propositional form P only if P or Q, either or Q or R rather. So we have the statement, three statement to be used, P, Q, and R. We have the table of true and false. So P only if P or Q. We have the true, 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 false, false. P only if or R. So we have true, 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 false, true, false. And then P only if P or Q, either or R. So we have true, 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 true. So in this propositional form, we can say that it is a tautology. It's a tautology because tautology is a compound proposition that is always true. So now let's proceed to the number 4 propositional form. So here's the propositional form, and this read as P implies Q and only if Q implies P. Excuse me. So in order to determine if this propositional form is tautology, we need first to create a truth tables. So here's our truth tables. In this column and here we have the P and Q, and this is the truth. These are the truth values of P and Q. P, we have true, true, false, false, and in this column we have true, false, true, false. So now let's find out what is the truth value of P implies Q. So P, I mean true, true means the truth value of this is also true. Then next, true, false. So the truth value here is false. Now false, true. So the truth value here is true. And next, false, false. The truth value here is true. Now let's proceed to this part. In this part, P implies Q and only if Q. Only if Q. So let's find out what is the truth value here. So the truth value here is true. Here is also true. Here is also true. And this is false. Now let's proceed in this part. This is our basis in order to determine if this propositional form is tautology. So now let's find out what is the truth value of P implies Q and only if Q implies P. Remember that in by conditional statement, this is the by conditional statement, if in by conditional statement, P and only if Q is true, if P and Q have the same truth value, such as there are 2 false and 2 truth. False if P and Q have different truth value. So now let's find out the truth value of this propositional form. So true, true, which means the truth value here is also true. Next, false, true. Then the truth value here is true. Next, true, true. So the truth value here is true. Next is true, false. So the truth value here is false. So as you can see, there are three false and one. There are three truth. There are three true and one false. So we can tell that this propositional form is not a tautology, since there is only one false. So this is not a tautology. So that would be all. Thank you.
This propositional form is a tautology. To prove that by using the truth tables, so because we have three variables, so we have each variables have 8 truth values. So here the P, the Q, and the R. So first we have to get the truth values of P and Q. First row rather is true, then second row is true, then the third is false, until the last false. So here value of P or R is, I look at the first row, this is true, true, so true, true, false is true, and then true, true, false, true, false. And then here at the last column, which is the P and Q implies P or Q. So this is the table of conditional. So here, this is the P and the Q. So if the P is true, then the Q is true, the implication is true. If the P is true, then the Q is false, then the implication is false. If the P is false, then the Q is true, then the truth is. If both false is true. So we have to get the truth values of P and Q implies P or Q. So here, so look at the first row, which is true, true, so it's true, 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 true. So propositional form, so the propositional form that is always true is tautology. Therefore, this propositional form is a tautology. I'll begin this speaking next.
Thank you, Miss Kinte. Good day everyone, I am Rose Antilos, and in this video I am going to explain the part 6 of the item number 5, which is we are tasked to identify which from the following form are tautologies. The truth tables for these propositional forms. We use truth tables to assign truth values to propositional form. So as we can see, there are 4 rows in these truth tables. For us to know how many rows to be used for this propositional, we need to use this formula, 2 raised to the power of n. The n here is the statement. When we say statement, it is the letters that we were going to use for this propositional form. So as we can see, there are two statements, the P and Q. So we rewrite this as 2 raised to the power of 2. 2 times 2 is equal to 4. So there are 4 rows to be used on this propositional form. On this table, P implies Q. So we write this as true because it has the same truth values. So in the second row, we write this as false because Q statement is false. In the third row, we write this as true because the second statement here is true. Then in the last row, we write this as true because it has the same truth values. Proceed on the fourth column. Q implies P, so we need to focus on this in the first column and second column. It has the same truth values. We write this as true. And then in the second row, we'll write this as true because and the third row we will write this as false because as we can see here, Q implies P, so we need to focus on the letter P. So it is false. And the last row, Q implies P, and as we can see here, it has the same truth value. So we will write this as true. So for the last column, P implies Q if and only if Q implies P. Let's focus on the sign. So as we can see here, it has the same truth values. So we will write this as true. In the second row, as we can see, it is not the same. So we will write this as false. The third row, false. And the last row, as we can see, it is both true. So we write this as true. Here in the last column, there are two true and two false truth values. So it means that this propositional form is not a tautologist. Not tautology because, as we all know, tautology, it is a propositional form that is always true